Hey everybody, this is Perch, and I'm back here with Ryan. We've been reviewing movies. How are you doing, Ryan?
Well, I was doing good until I had to watch this movie.
Fair enough. Okay, we went through Superman 1, 2, and 3. Okay, the two Christopher Donner-ish films. That second, and then Superman 3, which you and I both enjoy, and a cult classic favorite. And then it came time for 1984's Supergirl.
Have you ever watched this movie?
I thought I had, and I'm sure I have when I was younger. And so I had in my mind what it was about. And then when I watched it, I was not prepared for what I got. How about you?
Yeah, I have no memory of this movie whatsoever, and yeah, it's terrible. So
It's got a 9% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which I'm sure there's been worse movies, but I don't remember something with a worse rating than that. That's pretty bad.
yeah, I mean, it's barely a movie.
Yeah. It's I think quickly I started watching this movie and I quickly reset my expectations to this is an absolute kind of trash cult classic of a film, and it was much better then. Is that what were you like when you put this up? Like, at what point did you realize you were in for a bad time?
I mean, instantly. I mean, as soon as they show like Argo City,
Yeah,
you got Peter O'Toole walking around with a magic wand,
yeah.
and yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like it has good people in it. The Supergirl character is not bad. Peter O'Toole, sure.
Yeah.
Faye Dunaway is in there as the witch. I don't know. I just don't like magic in general. Like, just I mean, and a lot of comics have. I mean, and we're watching WandaVision. WandaVision's great, but it's like the best you can do with magic. And this is probably the worst because
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get into it, but it's like there are these two middle-aged witches who are trying to have a love potion on a lumberjack, and Supergirl messes with their plans.
Yeah.
And that's the conflict of this movie.
Yeah. So a lot of things going on here. All right, so our movie, so the villains are Faye Dunaway, who had to have been drugged and or blackmailed to get her into this movie. Do you think, or
Well, I mean, we missed the era of movies where like oil barons would just fund movies and spend millions of dollars on, probably lots of cocaine and just
sure.
this is just in that era, and we'll get to Superman 4 whenever next time is, but
Yeah, gotta look forward to that. Maybe we move over to Batman '89 just to spice it up a little bit. I don't know. So this movie comes out. The movie's got a $35 million budget.
That's a lot of cocaine.
That is a lot of cocaine that had to be used there. What I found interesting is the running time, because at least it wasn't terribly long. I think the running time I just watched it on HBO Max. I think it was about an hour and 5 minutes, or somewhere around in there. There's a director's cut apparently out there that gets you to almost an hour and 150 minutes. So like almost 2.5 hours of this movie. I'm trying to wrap my head around what that would be like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's enough time in the world to fill in the holes in this movie, and so I'm glad they cut it down.
So, all right. So I think if you're first off, the movie was apparently supposed to have Christopher Reeve guest star in it. They set up some things for that. He kind of apparently opted out kind of last minute, which was probably a good move for him. It went. Apparently, is produced by Warner Brothers, was meant to be part of the family, and then when Superman 3 did not do well, it was kind of handed off to TriStar for reasons. Yeah. I would have loved to have been in the room when this was screened, because so like this film opens up Argo City.
Yeah.
Which, was it clear what they were doing there? Like, these were refugees from Krypton?
I
but
I guess, and yeah, that he's like building this. You got Peter O'Toole, who's a legitimate actor.
right,
Bunch of people wearing kind of these togas,
yeah, they're kind of hippie toga outfits. Yeah,
but
unlike
he's wearing a sweater. He's wearing like pastel sweater.
sure, why not?
I feel like he just wore that to the set, and they just said, "Okay, well, you can just wear that."
Yeah, I think they basically let him not change was what happened there. He
Yeah,
showed up and
he
they're like,
was.
you're
He's
gonna have,
only there for a day or two. Yeah,
yeah, they told him you're gonna have to put on this costume, and he's like, fuck that, and then he wore a sweater.
yeah.
And he's got
So
a magic wand that he's using to make things, and he gives it to has to be what special needs child Helen Slater, Supergirl.
right, and and there's also the thing that powers the whole city, which is something that is very small and fits into your hand.
Yeah, which he's
And
just carrying around for some reason. He
right,
borrowed.
he borrowed it to do his magic. He wanted to make trees and things that he knows about from Earth.
Right.
So once again, we have Kryptonians knowing about Earth, but not visiting or wanting to visit, or
Yeah.
and he builds a spaceship that one day he will take to Earth because he's so obsessed with it.
Right.
But
And it's a
he's just
dangerous
left it.
trip. He says it's really dangerous. But
Sure.
yeah. I have people who are fans of the comics I think wind up filling in a lot of blanks with this movie about these being survivors of Krypton and everything else, but it just seemed like they were kind of hanging out in this commune in another dimension, apparently.
Yeah.
It's a dimensional world, which I'm sure meant something to someone.
Right. And Mia Farrow is there as I guess her mother. Sure. Again, another actress of note that has really no purpose to be in this movie.
Yeah. So, of course, Kara, being an idiot, makes a dragonfly and then promptly pops the bubble.
Right, and then the magic power source flies out of the bubble.
Yeah, and she's got to go chase it down.
And she knows about her cousin Clark being on Earth
and being
apparently he's famous, or Jor-El, or whatever.
Kal-El. He's doing fine. So again, they're able to kind of view all these things that are going on Earth, and they're living this weird refugee life in a bubble.
Yeah,
it seems really tenuous. Like if you just pop that bubble, then everybody dies.
Right, and they're not really in space. They're kind of in something weird. They're some sort of paint splatter universe.
It's the trans-dimensional world of Argo City.
I see.
Yeah, that's true. In the comic book, Supergirl would have a magic horse that actually fell in love with her, which I think makes more sense than parts of this movie.
I mean, I'll buy that.
Sure. Okay, so Supergirl basically gets in the ship to go chase down the orb.
Right.
Peter O'Toole's resigned to death in the Phantom Zone.
Right.
And and so she
goes to Earth in the spaceship, and it changes her clothes, and the trip is pretty short, if we're pretty honest.
She pops out of water for some reason. Like she comes
when she gets to Earth, she flies out of water. Yeah. Not before the orb crashes or falls to where our villains are having a picnic.
Right. Sure.
And it's Faye Dunaway as what's her name? Selena.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's a witch.
Right. And so's Nigel. Yeah. And they're having a picnic.
And Nigel's a better witch, or he's a better dark warlock. And then there's Faye Dunaway's pal.
Right.
Who's kind of just hanging out. And
right. So but she gets the orb and decides, well, now I can be powerful and I don't need this Nigel guy hanging around anymore. So she gets in his car, uses the orb to start it up, and then just leaves him.
Yeah. As witches do.
Well,
they then go back to their hideout and have a party.
Right. Her hideout is in an amusement park, like a haunted house ride.
Yeah, they've got like a small train ride that kind of goes through her house.
Yeah.
for reasons unknown.
It's an abandoned amusement park, which is, of course, where witches live. Everyone knows this.
That's where witches live. That's where Harry Potter was actually. That's where they are. That's where they go to an abandoned amusement park. That's where all the place. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's Faye Dunaway and her like middle-aged Joy Behar friend. I don't know the actress, but it's kind of the function of Joy Behar, just to make wisecracks and be her friend. But I don't. It's a weird dynamic. They're both just single ladies hanging out together, living in an amusement park, being witches.
They're kind of like it's the wine ant situation. There's probably a pet around there somewhere. They seem to, their plan is weird because their plan is either take over the world or get cute guys to like them.
Yeah.
Or both.
Right. If you had all the power in the world, you would first get cute guys to like you, and then you take over the world.
Yeah. And the cute guy they settle on is a gardener.
Yeah, right. So we should say, meanwhile, Kara has arrived on Earth. Nigel spots her. She flies off. She flies through Chicago, does some stuff, goes into nature. And then there's the worst attempted rape scene in like a PG movie.
Oh yeah, with Max Headroom, I believe.
Yeah, the Max Headroom actor.
Yeah,
and it's these two truck drivers, and you see a girl in a Superman outfit. Obviously, there's going to be a rape involved.
Yeah, and they're clearly just flying. They see her fly. They see her clearly distribute her powers.
Right.
And yet they then decide to kind of hit on her.
It's just the most disgusting, terrible thing that you can imagine in an 80s movie that is also PG. So they like try to make their move, and then she just punches them away or blows, the hurricane blowing, she just blows them through a wall or something, and
she blows the guys. Yeah, got it.
That is what I'm saying. Yes.
I like how when confronting these two would-be rapists, they describe their actions as it's just the way we are, and that's their justification.
Right. So that's her introduction to Earth, and then she flies off, goes into nature or something, wakes up, with bunnies around her, and and looks out over, and she sees that she's at like a high school softball game in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's a boarding school in the forest.
Right. So she decides to disguise herself as what's it, Linda Lee.
Yeah.
And she changes from a blonde to a brunette because that's her disguise.
She's got hair powers. Yeah.
Right. And she enrolls in this boarding school, even though she only has a couple days before her town, destroys itself for not having that power source.
Yeah. Meanwhile, back in the trans-dimensional world of Argo City, everybody is slowly suffocating to death. But she writes herself a letter of recommendation and gets into this school,
right.
And and borrows clothes from her new roommate.
Yeah, they give her a roommate. Yeah, it's Lois's sister, Lucy.
Yeah. And Lucy talks about how this super hunky boy, Jimmy Olsen, is going to come visit them soon.
Right.
Which is
we have that to look forward to.
Yeah. 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 They're building the tension. So almost immediately, all the women in the movie get horny for this gardener.
Right. So they're driving by. The witches are just driving around for some reason. Yeah, and they see this guy, and they decide, we're going to put a love potion hex on him.
Mm-hmm. And he gets like drunk stupid.
Right. They make an appointment with him, and he comes to their amusement park, and then they show him in, and then they put a hex on him or something. Yeah. And then when he wakes up, the first person he sees he'll be in love with. That's the scheme. Right. And so then they are distracted by Nigel coming back into the picture, and then he wanders out into the street.
Right. And he's like super drunk and crazy. Like he just can't see. He's like stumbling around just down the middle of the street. and everybody's like, they clearly identify him as like a homeless addict. And
right.
then
And you would think he would see somebody and fall in love with them, but no, he's just kind of walking around in the middle of the street.
right, for a while.
And, right, for a long time. And then the Supergirl, Linda, has gone to meet Jimmy and Lucy at a Popeyes.
Right.
As
This
you do,
is
product
by
placement.
Popeyes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the witches have found out that their hunky lumberjack guy is wandering the streets, so they hex a excavator to bring him back.
Yeah. Yeah. So this excavator tractor is just driving itself down the road, trying to basically scoop him up.
Right. It scoops him up and kind of makes monster sounds, and everybody's all freaked out, and it destroys like half the town.
Yeah. This the monster tractor scene apparently took 22 days to shoot. And I would just like to point out, everybody listening right now, I mean, I try and imagine yourself for 22 days, 3 weeks, having to film this piece of shit scene. I just, if you think your job is bad, imagine filming a guy stumbling drunkenly down the middle of a road in a small town while a tractor chases him, and then Supergirl has to go save him, which she does.
Yeah, so she saves him, and then he falls in love with her because he sees her.
Yeah, and then
he falls in love with Linda, not Supergirl.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he sees Linda, not Supergirl. He falls in love with Linda, and he's super horny, and she's happy with this.
Well, she's a boarding school girl, so you have to wonder, kind of a gardener kind of creeping on a. I guess we're meant to think she's a high schooler. I mean.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Like, how old is she exactly? But we get this problem with Lucy Lane as well, because like, how old is Jimmy in this movie?
Yeah, Jimmy looks old. And if he's hanging out again with Lois's sister, who's still in boarding school,
yeah, it's kind of creepy.
It's kind of creepy.
Yeah, he's and Jimmy does say things in this movie to make it extra creepy. Like he's kind of bragging about the things he can do, but you kind of get this, he's in his 30s hitting on a 16-year-old vibe.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, so anyway, she gets rid of the guy, or whatever, and she flies off. Yeah. The witches are mad at Linda, not Supergirl, so they decide to send a electricity monster or something,
shadow electricity monster. You don't actually see it in this first scene. It's just like there's some storm and darkness.
It's like an earthquake coming toward the boarding school, and Linda's kissing herself in the mirror and thinking, is she in love? What is love? And then she walks outside, and then she is confronted by this invisible monster.
Yeah.
And I think she like transforms into Supergirl at some point, and then like figures out that electricity is the thing that stops it. And I don't know. This whole scene, I did not want to pay attention to any of this.
Well, this is an action scene that is weird because you don't actually see any action from the villain. It's mainly just Supergirl. It's worth noting at this point that they were trying to get Brooke Shields for this role originally instead of Helen Slater, and Brooke Shields was up for it, but then they decided it wouldn't be realistic because Brooke Shields is too tall.
It's Supergirl. I mean, maybe to pull off of being a high schooler or something. I don't know. I think Helen Slater is fine as a brunette and as a blonde, I think.
Oh, she's fine. I just think it's interesting that the people making this movie looked at everything else they were producing and like, too tall. That's not going to be realistic here. Like, we'd already gotten a script where two witches are... Anyway, okay, so...
Yeah, right. So anyways, she follows her bracelet back to the amusement park.
Right.
But she runs into the... I guess we should mention that Nigel is her math or computer science teacher.
Yeah.
At the boarding school. That's just a weird coincidence that they just, use the same actor, and it's like, Nigel's a teacher and a warlock. So that's fun.
Well, warlocks gotta earn money. I mean, they gotta pay for that spell stuff. So a boarding school teacher checks out, and you can go from there to weird little like coven orgies at the amusement park. I mean, it's all fine. There's no background checks.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So she goes and she gets to the amusement park and runs into the lumberjack guy who's there, but he's brought her like flowers and stuff. And then the witches are also there, and then they I don't know, they want to.
Well, they enchant a bumper car set, and this is very dangerous. Like we get a fairly long sequence of the boy who it was Ethan, right? Was that his name?
Right. So they're fighting Supergirl while Ethan, the lumberjack guy, is in the middle of a bunch of bumper cars. Yeah. And he's trying to not be hit by them, so he jumps into one of the bumper cars. Yeah. But again, he's trying not to be hit by other bumper cars. Just he's in danger.
He seems then terrified, and he's a gardener technically, not a lumberjack, right?
Oh, sure. I mean, whatever. He's just a guy who takes his shirt off, and
he takes his shirt off. All right. Originally, again, supposed to be played by John Travolta. I'll just throw out there, which also would be kind of creepy from an age perspective. But all right.
Yeah. All right.
So he's terrified by the bumper cars. Supergirl manages to fend off the two witches.
Right. And Faye
Faye Dunaway also, her role was originally supposed to be played by Dolly Parton. So for what it's worth, I'll just throw all these things into your mind. So she then basically picks up the bumper car with Ethan in it and flies off.
Yeah, she flies through the skyline of Chicago, once again reusing some shots that they, for the background they did earlier. But she's just carrying the bumper car that has the guy in it.
Right.
And then she lands by a lake in the mountains of Chicago, which don't exist.
Sure.
But it's just geographically weird. But so they're way off, off the map somewhere. And then, he's talking about how he has to get back to Linda because he's in love with her and, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, oh, you're Supergirl. Huh. You have powers.
Yeah, he seems okay with it.
Yeah, he's really not too shocked by it.
He's also stranded in the middle of nowhere.
Right, but then he gets. This is when Nigel and the witches get back, and then Nigel has some sort of a magic wand or something that he combines, and then they build their mountain fortress in the middle of Illinois.
Yeah,
so it's.
I do like that scene because if people are like, "Hey, when did this mountain appear out of it?" I don't know, and then they weirdly. The witches immediately decide to throw a parade of some kind.
Right. And well, this is after. So they zap Ethan back to their fortress, and then Supergirl comes back, but they trap her into the Phantom Zone.
That's right. Yeah. This is terrifying. We've watched a good hour and change of the movie at this point. It's a long time to get to this point.
Right. And
so Supergirl screwed off in the Phantom Zone.
Right. And so then they have a parade, and then there's a bunch of people protesting the witches. Which
a protest. Yeah.
It's not a very good protest, but then the witches realize that Linda is Supergirl, and then they kidnap Lucy and Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all. I mean, they just take them. So meanwhile, she goes to the Phantom Zone, where she, of course, meets Peter O'Toole on his second day of filming.
Yeah. And Peter O'Toole's decided to, dig deep and put on a madness act. Like he's kind of lost his mind a little bit.
Well, he's like, hey, you want to squirt?
Yeah.
He's like
he's wanting to squirt her in the mouth. Right.
He has like a squirt bottle that doesn't taste bad, or it's something of his own concoction.
Yeah, he's found some fluid.
But it's been like 2 days, but apparently time passes strangely in the Phantom Zone. I don't understand because it's only been like 2 or 3 days since she last saw him. Sure. But and we should say that the Phantom Zone isn't that glass pane. The glass pane just takes her from wherever she was to the Phantom Zone, which I feel is kind of weird. But it makes you wonder what the Superman 2, where Zod and the other two, where they were just in that glass pane forever.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they were floating around until the the bong kind
Right.
of them. Here, there's in another kind of dimension, and the villains, the really awful people, are like over the hill.
Yeah, we
And,
never see them that they're mentioned, and it's just kind of just a muddy place. Then she falls in the mud, and it's kind of like a never-ending story. Atreyu, mud situation there.
yeah,
But she convinces Peter O'Toole that they need to escape the Phantom Zone.
yeah. And Peter O'Toole continues to try and squirt her in the mouth.
Right.
She eventually submits and gets squirt in the mouth. At this point, it's worth noting that this character, the Peter O'Toole character, was originally offered to Dudley Moore, who, for scheduling conflicts, couldn't take it. But I'd like you to picture now Dudley Moore, Brooke Shields, and John Travolta in this, and Dolly Parton as your.
Well, I'd like to think all those people just read this movie and said, hard pass.
Yeah, I would think so. So, getting out of the Phantom Zone is apparently pretty easy. You just kind of have to crawl up this mild incline of a hill and think happy thoughts.
You have to believe in yourself. And then the witches start attacking them in the Phantom Zone with magic.
Yeah.
Kills off Peter O'Toole, but Supergirl escapes.
Yeah.
And so she's back in their fortress. And I don't know. Then there's a fight scene that's not all that interesting.
They do
between the witches
of kind of like a demon face, and then they decide to have, when Supergirl's fighting it, they stretch the camera, stretch the image out, so it looks like she's being kind of stretched, sort of.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things where I feel like the longer version of this movie would have more, but I'm glad that they cut out all of that, really, because she just really, I mean, it feels like she could have just used her powers of flight and or super speed or laser vision or any power to defeat whatever, or the witches or something. But I don't know. At this point, I've just lost complete interest in this movie. It's so let's just say there's a giant monster and she beats it, and or the witches, and takes away the power thing, and then saves her friends. And she banishes the witch and Joy Behar, her friend, to, I guess, the Phantom Zone or somewhere else, or
the zone of shadows and darkness, or something.
Yeah, something.
They go away, never to come back again, which is good. There was apparently a lot of issues. Peter Cook, who played Nigel, hated Faye Dunaway, and Faye Dunaway apparently was a complete raging bitch to everybody, the cast and the crew, and Helen Slater and everybody else. And she had multiple occasions where they were threatening to fire her, but some of the anger between the two characters was apparently legitimate, or Peter Cook was mad, and there was talk that several people on the set threatened to slap her, and it sounded like a fun time for everybody. I mean,
yeah, it just shows in the work how great this movie is.
So she does save the day. She gets back the magic ball of energy, and she flies into the lake.
She flies into the lake so she can go back to Argo City.
Yeah, she doesn't need the spaceship at this point, but she flies into this, and it shows her kind of flying through space to Argo City with the ball. Again, why she doesn't drag the whole city to
Earth. Is she Supergirl when she gets back to the city? Does she have powers?
I mean, we don't know. She's got her costume. She flies. They shows her flying through trans-dimensional space back to Argo City, and then the credits roll, and you're just glad it's over at that point. So
right.
Yeah. This movie was awful. It made $12 million, which is the lowest amount of any of the Superman films. Sorry, it made $14 million. My apologies to the filmmakers there. Superman 4 would make $15 million, so it wasn't too far behind, but it definitely lost money. It basically was this movie was intended to be the first of a trilogy that did not occur. No, there's nothing redeemable about this movie. It is terrible.
No, we talked about how the Donner films had like the right tone of Superman, and then how Superman 3 had kind of more comedic, but still had kind of some interesting,
Yeah.
Superman powers. It was at least sort of a Superman story. This, this was just terrible in all kinds of ways, and is confusing, and is just a high budget TV movie that
Yeah.
nobody should watch. Nobody should watch this.
Nobody should be forced to watch this movie. We talked about this earlier. Is there a worse superhero movie you can think of? I mean, I'm sure there is.
Right. So the category is sort of there's what is it, Catwoman with the Halle Berry, that is of course
That's terrible.
it's probably more sensical than this movie. This movie just didn't make sense. And then we were thinking like, what was Daredevil's girlfriend?
Elektra. Yeah.
Elektra. Yeah, there was that movie in the 90s.
Yep. Jennifer Garner. Yeah.
Jennifer Garner, and I hate to say that it's like because it's a woman involved in it that it's a terrible movie, but it's just a terrible movie, and I'm sorry for everybody involved in it.
Yeah, I think you could have had a man in that role. I mean, this was the first female superhero movie that they produced, so it's got that going for it. But it really, you could put any gender, you could replace her with like a talking dog. It would not have helped. Like there's nothing. It has nothing to do with that. Its movie is just awful.
Right. I mean, it's just poor quality all around, just effects. And I mean, the only thing that they used is like the Superman flying effect. And then they just kept using the same backgrounds and the same weird stuff. And then the rest of it is just very pedestrian. I mean,
I like you. I imagine a lot of people saw this script and kind of opted out. They were clearly setting up that Clark Kent would make an appearance at some point, the Christopher Reeves character, and then didn't. And again, I have to imagine, he got word of what was going on the set and be like, no, I'll just stay here with this movie with the Nuclear Man. That's what I'm going to do. So
this movie makes me want to watch Superman 4. So I guess.
Oh, good.
I mean, I guess we have that to look forward to. That's the next one.
I'm so excited. I don't know. It's fun. It's almost bad enough to be enjoyable to watch, and it certainly is fun in the sense of. Well, I mean, to put it this way, the most enjoyment you're going to get out of this film was the last 30 minutes that we just did. It's not, it sounds kind of wacky, these witches and kind of their whole plan and everything else, but you're not going to have a good time if you watch this movie. I think that's safe to say.
Yeah, this isn't even. Yeah, it's not even fun to watch how bad it is. This is just a void altogether.
There's a scene where the Supergirl is they're having the big kind of boarding school communal showers, and there's bullies trying to do something. Like the bullies are behind in the plumbing, trying to scald the women.
Yeah, no, there's some weird girl dorm thing, early 80s style girls in the dorm, PG rated, of course.
Yeah.
That is weird, and I don't know, but there are two evil girls who are like, oh, we're gonna get Lucy and Linda, and by turning off the cold water while they're in the showers.
Yeah.
And she burns them instead using laser vision by cutting a pipe or stopping what they're doing. So,
like any good superhero would do. Yeah.
Yeah. So she embarrasses them.
Yeah.
But again, she only has a couple days to save her people, and that's her mission. But she's doing this while in a boarding school. So
it's very strange that she would take the time to take a shower, go into there's a lot of elements to this movie that are quite peculiar, but anyway. Yeah. Any kind of final thoughts? Just
no, I want to forget this movie as soon as I can. So it's already gone.
There we go. All right. Well, hey, if you're, let us know in the comments below if you watch this movie. Maybe it's near and dear to your heart. You can tell us we're all crazy. You kind of, on one hand, I want to believe there's an 80s charm to it, but not really. It's just crap. So anyway, let us know in the comments below, like and subscribe. And yeah, thank you, Ryan. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you.